Chapter 3358. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Sisi Fang Ping was shocked. A fourth blood transformation actually had such battle prowess, suppressing him, a 5 bones expert, to the point that he couldn't fight back. It was as if he had seen another Hong Tian Bu. No, I will not allow that to happen. In that case, he would be the one to end Ling Han's life, and cause this so-called second in the Hong Tian steps to die prematurely. With a loud roar, his blood qi finally boiled. Instantly, his strength rose to a terrifying level. Die. He used his secret force to protect himself and charged straight at Ling Han. His current strength was at least 4 times that of Ling Han, so as long as he used his secret force to protect himself, he could completely let Ling Han bombard him. In any case, it was impossible for Ling Han to break through his defense. As for him, as long as he was able to land a punch, he would be able to guarantee that not a single bone in Ling Han's body would be left intact under the pressure of over 100 million kilograms of force. Ling Han hurriedly dodged. Right now, Fang Jiaping was like an ancient barbaric bull, invulnerable to swords and spears, yet possessing boundless strength. If Ling Han was hit by him, he would only be crushed. Ha 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 ha. Where can you run to? Fang Ping laughed strangely. He would soon be able to kill a super monster with his own hands. That gave him a perverted sense of joy. Kill him. Kill him quickly. Hong Tai-chen also chimed in. He was eager to get the red hair fruit. Treasured fruits like these that were nurtured by the heavens and the earth could not only increase one's cultivation, but they could also increase one's level of life. Thus, if he ate a few more of them, he might even be able to rush to the ultimate bone realm in one go. Going from the 5 changes of blood transformation to the extreme bone realm was a huge leap. Not only would his strength skyrocket, but his status would also rise along with it. He could not be mentioned in the same breath as before. Ling Han had been patiently waiting. After dodging a dozen or so moves, he suddenly counterattacked. Demon Monkey Fist, 30 stacks of strength, high-frequency attack. He unleashed his ultimate move in an instant. His fist was wrapped in golden light, and an ancient demon monkey also appeared. It bared its fangs as if it could break through the heavens and trample on the netherworld. It was indescribably terrifying. What? Fang Ping was shocked. Had this punch really come from the 5th transformation? Why does it feel like the sky is falling and the earth is cracking? Boom, the punch landed, and Fang Jiaping's sword qi immediately collapsed. Even though he had more than 4 times the strength, it was still not enough in the face of this attack. If it was anyone else, if they were only in the blood transformation realm, then that punch would have been enough to turn them into a rain of blood. But Fang Ping had 5 bones, and had 4 times the strength advantage. That punch could only make him stumble. Haha, I have to admit that your ultimate move really is powerful. But that's all you can do, laughed Fang Ping. But before he could stop smiling, he was suddenly filled with shock. Pu. His body trembled violently, and fresh blood dripped down. Fang Ping was at a loss. He knew that his back had been attacked. A sharp weapon had pierced his heart and lungs, causing his life force to rapidly leak out. But Ling Han was clearly in front of him. How could he attack from behind? Could it be Hong Tai-chen? However, firstly, it was impossible for Hong Tai-chen to attack him. Secondly, with his tiny bit of strength, how could he possibly cause such great harm to him? Why? Pu. He looked at Ling Han, his face filled with confusion. He wanted to ask, but before he could finish, he spat out a mouthful of blood. If not for the fact that he was in the ultimate bone realm and had a strong life force, he would have long since died from such a heavy injury. Ling Han smiled calmly. You want to ask, how did I injure you? With a thought, Pu, 3 small swords flew out from Fang Ping's chest. Ping's expression changed. So, you can actually turn your mental energy into something tangible. Using mental energy to communicate with high-level energy was something that could basically be done as long as one had control over a spirit diagram. But to be able to turn mental energy into something tangible, he knew that there was only one person who could do it. Hong Tian Stepso, your death was not unjust. Ling Han said lightly. He stared at Fang Ping. I said that if you didn't apologize that day, I would kill you. Ma Fangping revealed a tragic smile. At that time, Ling Han's warning had seemed like a joke to him. However, he had never imagined that it would actually lead to his death. Don't be too pleased. In front of the young master, you are just trash, he said hatefully. The young master will definitely take revenge for me. He will definitely. Peng, he fell head first onto the ground. Fresh blood gushed out, instantly forming a pool of blood on the ground. Ling Han stared at Ma Fangping's corpse for a few seconds before looking away. The person was dead, and the enmity was extinguished. He turned his head and looked at Hong Tai-chen. Hong Tai-chen could not help but shudder, a chill rising from the bottom of his heart. The person in front of him was decisive in killing. Ma Fangping was a 5-bone expert, but the other party had killed him without hesitation. While he was only at the 5 changes, his strength was so weak that it could not be measured by reason. Spare me. He knelt on the ground. Although he still had a seal soldier on him, he had no intention of throwing it out. Because this seal soldier could only display the battle strength of 1 bone. It was not even enough to fill the gaps between Ling Han's teeth. Pu. Ling Han punched out, causing Hong Tai-chen to explode. If there were no survivors, who could prove that he was the one who did it? So what if Hong Tian-bu guessed that he was the one who did it? Without evidence, Hong Tian-bu would not dare to openly attack him. Ling Han needed time. He took off Hong and Fang's optical computers and broke them, destroying the memory crystals within. Then, even if the 2 of them turned on the video recording, it would be useless. There was no way to connect to the internet here, so destroying the optical computers would completely destroy the evidence. Ling Han leapt up and quietly left. Gu. Perverted pig looked at him, his eyes actually revealing the meaning of this brat is quite vicious and merciless. If you keep looking, I'll kill you, laughed Ling Han. Perverted pig revealed a disdainful expression. Although this grandpa pig's battle strength was only 5, his defense was boundless. After 2 days, Ling Han did not know how many courtyards he had searched. If he continued upwards, a huge forest garden appeared in front of him. From the outside, he could see that there were many fruit trees and strange plants inside, but most of the areas were abandoned and overgrown with weeds. Was this the Eternal Moon Sect's medicinal garden? Ling Han wanted to climb over the wall and enter, but he found that this medicinal garden was under the protection of a formation, forcefully blocking him back. Dig the ground. Ling Han tried, but found that the protective area of the formation also included the ground. It was like an eggshell, covering the entire medicinal garden from the ground to the sky. How could he enter? Of course, Ling Han would not give up, so he walked around the wall. If it was during the time when the Eternal Moon Sect was ruling, then Ling Han definitely would not have thought of getting lucky. But after so many years, the formation would definitely be damaged, especially after it was buried deep underground. One had to know, what was the essence of a formation? It could attract the power of heaven and earth. Large-scale formations not only had great requirements for the formation base, but also the placement of the formation base. Now that this Eternal Moon Sect had been buried underground for so many years, even if it came out again, could its power still be maintained? Reading on mobile phones is more refreshing. Chapter 3360. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. Although Yu Yi had seen Ling Han once, how could he care about Ling Han, who had only been at the opening Meridian realm at that time? Furthermore, he had not come to see Ling Han, so naturally he would not care about a passerby. But he was at the ultimate bone realm, and his memory was better than most people. He felt that Ling Han seemed familiar. Ling Han smiled slightly and said, "City Lord Yu, long time no see." Hearing Ling Han say this, Yu Yi was even more certain that he had seen Ling Han before. But Ling Han did not explain it clearly, so he could not remember. Whatever, maybe he was just a junior of some family who had followed an elder to greet him, so he did not have any impression of him. Yu Yi was immediately displeased, because Ling Han's tone was like someone of the same generation was greeting someone of the same generation. This was not the attitude a junior should have. Very rude. "You dare speak to my father like that?" Yu Shan immediately shouted. "Shan, stand down," Yu Yi said lightly. With so many people watching, He did not want to lower himself to the level of a junior. Yes, father. Yu Shan hurriedly retreated. Shan did not do anything wrong. Why are you blaming him? Hu Yumei was unhappy. She doted on her son, and naturally could not bear to see Yu Yi reprimand him. This kind of unruly brat should be taught a lesson. Yu Yi was a bit embarrassed. He was indeed a bit afraid of his wife, but being scolded by her in front of so many people, he became angry out of humiliation. Ling Han did not pay any attention to him. With a shake of his right hand, 3 formation bases were thrown out, instantly blocking the momentum of the world. With a flick of his right hand, he tossed the fat pig away. *GU*, the pig let out a pitiful cry. It had already flown through the gap in the wall and entered the medicine garden. Everyone was first startled, and then their eyes immediately became fiery. The formation had been broken. Xiao, without the slightest hesitation, Ling Han leaped into the medicine garden. This absolute obstruction formation would not last for long. Once he confirmed that the passage was open and it was safe, he would naturally enter immediately. In any case, he had prepared many formation bases for the absolute obstruction formation. Xiao, those with quick reflexes had already jumped in. Yu Yi's reaction was also very fast. Shua, he first threw his 3 sons in, then held Hu Yuemei's hand and jumped in. He had 5 bones, who could compete with him? The people in front of him were immediately sent flying by him. Ling Han took a look and said leisurely, "If you don't want to die, the people behind you shouldn't come in." No one paid him any attention. This was a medicinal garden, and its value was astonishing. Who didn't want to get involved? That's right. The people at the back shouldn't come in, Yu Shan sneered. The more people that came in, the more people would fight over it. Whoever dares enter again will be killed without mercy, shouted Yu Dong. But the people outside were still squeezing in. Yu Yi was an extreme Bone Realm warrior, so what could these 3 people do? Ling Han shook his head. He didn't want others to come in because he wanted to monopolize this place. It was because he saw that the array base of the isolation array was about to be destroyed. Ah! Someone screamed. Just as half of his body had charged in, he was suddenly sliced in half. Peng, the people behind him couldn't stop in time, and were all sent flying back. But luckily, they were only sent flying back, and not injured. The isolation array had already been destroyed, and the large array had been restored. That unlucky person had just happened to be halfway through, so naturally he could only be sliced in half. Everyone looked at Ling Han. Only now did they understand what Ling Han meant. It wasn't that Ling Han was stingy, but that this was too dangerous. So little friend is also a formation master. Yu Yi revealed a smile, appearing extremely courteous. There were formations everywhere in the ancient ruins. Thus, if there was a formation master joining them, it would greatly increase the chances of obtaining treasures. Furthermore, when they left, they would also have to rely on Ling Han. "Come with me. If there are any treasures, you won't be left out," he said. "Hurry up and thank my father," Yu Hai hurriedly said. "My father is an extreme Bone Realm warrior, the #1 expert in Jining City. With him protecting you, you'll definitely be safe here." Ling Han smiled faintly, and said, "Then I really should thank City Lord Yu." "Of course, hurry up and kowtow," Yu Shan said. He was extremely unhappy with Ling Han. Previously, he had been scolded by Yu Yi because of Ling Han. Now that this brat had actually climbed up to his father, he naturally had to make his presence known. "You have to know that this is my father. If I tell you to kowtow, you have to kowtow." Ling Han shook his head. Although there were no lack of spoiled brats in the capital, they weren't as overbearing as people like Yu Dong and Yu Shan. He smiled. "My bones are a bit hard, and I can't kneel down, so I can only decline City Lord Yu's kind intentions." He emphasized the word kind intentions, naturally denying that this was really his good intentions. "Mph, don't be unappreciative," Yu Dong immediately shouted. "My father is the City Lord of Jining City, and is even more so a extreme Bone Realm warrior. You actually dare to refuse my father's kind intentions? Aren't you a bit too arrogant? Don't think that just because you're a formation master that you can look down on everyone," Yu Hai followed. I advise you to reconsider, Yu Shan said in a strange tone. Ling Han couldn't help but shake his head. These spoiled brats were fine in Jining City, since no one dared to provoke them. But if they were so arrogant outside of Jining City, wouldn't that just bring shame to Yu Yi? But thinking about it again, only those at the engravement realm could defeat Yu Yi, and there were only a few such experts in Xianbei country. No wonder these three didn't hold back. City Lord Yu. Ling Han looked towards Yu Yi. Yu Yi looked at Ling Han and suddenly remembered. You're that friend of Ruoxian's? When he had first seen Ling Han, he had actually been filled with suspicion. That was because Ling Han was only at the opening pulse stage, and naturally couldn't have charged out of Hidden Tiger City by himself. He must have been brought out by Feng Ruoxian. He had always thought that Ling Han was a pretty boy who had been infatuated with Feng Ruoxian, which was why he hadn't given up even in such a dangerous situation. He had also found it strange. Hadn't Feng Zisheng always wanted to marry his daughter into the imperial family? But now he knew that Ling Han was a formation master, and his attainments weren't shallow either. That was why Feng Ruoxian valued him so highly. Little friend, although you're a formation master and have a high status, danger is everywhere in these ancient ruins. Demonic beasts won't care whether you're a formation master or not. Yu Yi smiled. So you should come with me. Since he knew that Ling Han was a formation master, he naturally couldn't let Ling Han leave. This ancient ruins hadn't been developed yet, and with the help of a formation master, it would reduce a lot of danger. They would also be able to enter some places that they originally couldn't enter. He had already made up his mind that if Ling Han rejected him again, he would use forceful methods to force Ling Han to comply. Ling Han sighed. See, he was already being very courteous. Why was it that there were always people who didn't know what was good for them? Yu Yi, you're going too far. Phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3361. A Beautiful Romance. BQG 6. CC Yu Yi, you've gone too far. The moment those words left his mouth, everyone was dumbfounded. Who was Yu Yi? Jining City's city lord, a five-bone expert. How could a minor figure like you call him by his name? You were just courting death. Impudent, impudent. Yu Shan immediately shouted. Hu Yumai disdainfully said, Old Yu, look, what is this thing? How uncultured. You think you're amazing just because you're a formation master? Yu Hai jumped out. He had already learned from Yu Yi that Ling Han was only at the Meridian opening realm, so he naturally wasn't afraid. Hurry up and kneel down and apologize. Yu Shan also jumped out. It was rare for his opponent to be only at the Meridian opening realm, so he naturally had to take this chance to show off. He directly punched at Ling Han. Ling Han stretched out his hand, and Yu Shan's wrist was caught. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. Yu Shan immediately cried out. Little brute, let go. Hu Yumai immediately cried out, her heart aching for her son. Ling Han naturally wouldn't listen. His anger had already risen. This really was a case of a kind person being bullied. If he had displayed the power of the blood transformation realm or even the ultimate bone realm from the start, would these three brothers still dare yell at him? Since he had already attacked, he didn't plan on showing mercy. Let go. Ling Han snorted. I'm a high-rank formation master, and a puny meridian opening cultivator dares to attack me? That's disgraceful, and according to the law, he should die. Nonsense, if a little brute like you could be a high-rank formation master, then I'd be the current emperor. Hu Yumai didn't hold back her words. Don't think that just because you broke a formation you can pass as a high-rank formation master. You were just lucky, and the formation hasn't even been broken yet. Ling Han ignored him, and merely exerted a slight pressure on his fingers. Ah! Yu Shan cried out once more. Let go of me. Yu Hai roared as he punched out. Ling Han lightly stretched out his hand, and Yu Hai's wrist also fell into his palm. Ah! Yu Hai was also screaming in pain, his voice echoing Yu Shan's. It was as if they were singing a duet. Mother****. Yu Dong couldn't sit still anymore. His two brothers had made a fool of themselves in front of so many people. He couldn't keep his face any longer. He jumped up and rushed towards Ling Han. He was at the blood transformation realm. Compared to his two brothers, there was a heaven and earth difference. Hong, he sent a heavy kick straight at Ling Han's head. A cold glint flashed in Ling Han's eyes, and he, too, lashed out with a kick in Yu Dong's direction. Not good. Yu Yi exclaimed. He wanted to act, but it was already too late. Paling Han's kick arrived first and landed on Yu Dong's calf. The crisp sound of bone breaking could be heard as Yu Dong's left calf bent into a frightening angle. Yu Dong fell to the ground and screamed as he held his broken leg. It was painful, it was so painful that it pierced into the bone and pierced into the heart. Ling Han's hands shook, throwing Yu Shan and Yu Hai away. Then he said indifferently, "Do you want to die? Fine, I'll help you." Bastard, little bastard. Hu Yuemei's tears were about to flow. All three of her sons had been injured by this little bastard in front of her, causing her to hate Ling Han to the bone. She also rushed out. Hong, her blood and chi surged as she sent a palm strike at Ling Han. She had been the daughter of a rich family, and Yu Yi had only married her because of her family's power. As a result, even though Yu Yi's strength had grown and his position had grown higher and higher, he had still been a bit afraid of her. She was used to being a local tyrant, and now someone dared to bully her sons in front of her, and three at once. How could she endure this? Go die. Hong, a palm strike with shocking momentum. She was at the 5th transformation, and had reached this realm 20 years ago. But she had never been able to break through to the ultimate bone realm. But her battle ability was much stronger than an ordinary 5th transformation. Ling Han glanced at Yu Yi. The latter had no intention of stopping him. His killing intent surged, and he suddenly punched out. Peng! Hu Yumei was instantly sent flying. She hurriedly climbed up, and wanted to continue rushing forward. But she only felt an intense pain in her chest. Looking down, she was shocked to the core. There was a hole in her chest, and she could clearly see the scene behind her. Before she could finish her thought, her entire body went limp, and she collapsed onto the ground, no longer breathing. Everyone was shocked. First, it was Ling Han's strength. Second, it was his guts. He actually dared to kill someone in front of Yu Yi. Mother! Yu Dong and his brothers all exclaimed. They had never imagined that in just this instant, their protective mother would die. Hong, a terrifying aura spread out from Yu Yi's body. His expression was incredibly strange, and it kept changing. Seeing his own wife killed on the spot, he actually had mixed feelings for a moment. He was a bit sad. After all, this was his wife. But he was also a bit happy and glad. Because Hu Yumei was extremely jealous, she had never allowed him to take a concubine. Now that this fierce woman was dead, who could stop him from finding young beauties? Of course, his wife had been killed in front of everyone, and in front of him. He definitely had to kill Ling Han. Otherwise, would he still have the face to see others in the future? You have guts. Yu Yi said darkly, but his gaze towards Ling Han was filled with suspicion. He could be sure that when he had first seen Ling Han, he had definitely been at the opening pulse realm. But now, not even half a year had passed. How did he have the strength to kill Hu Yumei? Although this fierce woman was also only at the 5 changes, she had stayed at this level for many years. Her battle ability was far stronger than ordinary 5 changes. Could it be that this kid was at the extreme bone realm? Impossible. He had crossed 2 levels in such a short amount of time. Even that sky-suppressing genius of the imperial capital was not so exaggerated. It was precisely because he had such misgivings that he did not immediately act. Ling Han said indifferently, "City Lord Yu, your family has repeatedly insulted and bullied me. Am I not allowed to retaliate? You dare to kill someone in front of me. You must pay with blood." Yu Yi took a deep breath and took out a rusty dagger. There were some strange patterns on it, but it had already been worn down. This was an artifact. It showed how much importance Yu Yi placed on Ling Han. He had directly taken out his most powerful killing weapon. There was no way around it. He had just used blood chi boil and lacked an explosive method in a short period of time. Ling Han shrugged and said, "Since that's the case, then bring it on." Yu Yi's right hand shook, and the patterns on the dagger instantly lit up. Boom! This dagger emitted a terrifying baleful aura, as if a vicious beast had suddenly awakened. Shua, he waved the dagger. Instantly, a ray of dagger chi slashed towards Ling Han. Ling Han raised his fist and punched out. Peng, this ray of dagger chi instantly crumbled. But under the push of the enormous force, he still slid back quite a distance. The difference in power was a sore point, and it was completely exposed in a direct confrontation. One bone. Yu Yi frowned and then shook his head. Ling Han's power should not have reached one bone yet, but it had far surpassed the 5 changes. It was truly strange. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3362. A Good Romance. BQG 6. No matter how strange and shocked Yu Yi was, there was no way for him to stop now. The enmity of killing his wife was absolutely irreconcilable. No matter how much he hated this wife of his, and even had the thought of hiring someone to kill her, she had been killed in front of him, in front of so many people. This was unacceptable. If he did not take revenge for this, how could he still be the city lord of Jining City? He could not even protect his own wife. How could he hope to protect a large city? Xiao, he leapt out, brandishing his blade towards Ling Han. He had an absolute advantage in terms of strength, and with his rich battle experience, he naturally wanted to maximize this advantage. Ling Han smiled faintly. Did you think that just because you were strong, you would definitely win? Come, try out the lightning light fist. His figure leapt backwards, and then he began to brandish his fists. Peng, 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 peng. Instantly, the sky was filled with fist imprints. Because they had broken through the speed of sound, they had materialized and shot towards Yu Yi. F***ck. Yu Yi could not help but grit his teeth. This was too terrifying. He hurriedly brandished his blade to defend himself. Pu, 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 the blade chi swept past, and the fist imprints were disintegrated. In terms of strength, he indeed had the absolute advantage, but Ling Han's attack speed was fast enough. It was so fast that if he destroyed one fist imprint, he could send out 2 or even 3 more. Even Yu Yi could not withstand this, and had no choice but to retreat. Hey! Everyone's jaws dropped. What was this situation? Ling Han casually swung out a fist, striking towards Yu Dong. How fast was the lightning light fist? Pu, Yu Dong immediately exploded, transforming into a rain of blood. Ah! Yu Yi immediately let out a howl like a wounded wolf. His wife had died, but he was not moved at all. In any case, he had no feelings, only hatred. But his sons were his flesh and blood, and were definitely his own. The reason why his 3 sons had developed such an arrogant habit was actually because of his pampering. When Hu Yumai had died, he had not been angry, nor had he exploded. But now that his son had died, he was finally angry, and exploded. Little beast, die for me. He brandished his blade, bringing with him endless killing intent. Ling Han snorted and threw another punch at Yu Shan. No. Yu Yi hurriedly changed his position and leapt towards Yu Shan. Compared to killing Ling Han for revenge, protecting Yu Shan's life was more important. However, how could his speed compare to the lightning fist? Peng, Yu Shan also turned into a rain of blood. Yu Yi's entire body trembled. He wanted to kill Ling Han. Ling Han smiled faintly and looked at Yu Hai. Being stared at by him, Yu Hai couldn't help but shiver. He felt his legs go soft and he almost couldn't stand. His legs gave way, and he knelt down. Don't kill me, I beg you, don't kill me. He began to cry in front of everyone. Although his father, who was at the level of 5 bones, was present, Yu Hai did not feel safe at all. Did he not see how Yu Dong and Yu Shan died? And his mother too. This isn't a human, it's a demon. Yu Yi was so angry that he almost killed Yu Hai with his own hands, but when he remembered that this was his last son, he forcefully suppressed his killing intent. His son's cowardly behavior caused him to be both angry and furious, and he lost all face. And the main culprit was naturally Ling Han. It was just that he was afraid that Ling Han would kill Yu Hai, so he completely didn't dare to take the initiative to attack. Ling Han smiled faintly, and with a leap, he charged towards Yu Yi. He didn't have so much time to waste with his opponent. There were still many treasured fruits here waiting for him to pluck. Demon Monkey Fist, frequency attack, 30-fold strength. Ling Han used his strongest battle prowess. He wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. You're courting death. Yu Yi laughed coldly. He didn't dare to take the initiative to attack because he was afraid that Ling Han would kill Yu Hai. But now that Ling Han had charged over, his worries were naturally resolved. Sure, he waved his blade and slashed over. Ling Han's blood chi boiled. Hong, a faint golden aura emanated from his body, and his power instantly increased explosively. What, for transformations? Yu Yi was shocked. With Ling Han's blood chi boiling, his aura had leaked out, and naturally he could no longer hide his cultivation level. But it was precisely because of this that Yu Yi was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. A mere 4 transformations was actually able to contend against him? So what if I'm at 4 transformations? Ling Han smiled. He drew out stone energy and wrapped it around his fists clashing with the short blade. Peng 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 peng. After more than 10 punches, Yu Yi could only feel his hands trembling, as if he couldn't hold his blade steadily. How was this possible? He had 5 bones. 5 bones, and in a head-on clash, he was actually weaker than a 4 transformation cultivator. He couldn't help but think of that heaven-suppressing monster in the imperial capital. It was said that that person was so strong that he defied the heavens, and even though he had crossed a major realm, he could still crush all opponents. He had only heard of that monster, but the young man in front of him who was currently facing him had actually displayed such a terrifying battle strength. So it turned out that there really were geniuses in this world. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Why didn't he tell his 3 sons to restrain themselves and not be so arrogant? Otherwise, they wouldn't have offended Ling Han, and 2 of them wouldn't have died. He also blamed himself for being greedy, wanting to make use of the other party's ability just because he saw that the other party was a formation master, and ended up becoming enemies. However, there was no medicine for regret. The only thing he could do now was to kill Ling Han, and take revenge for his wife and sons. Ling Han exploded with power, his left hand drawing out stone energy to focus on defense, while his right hand drew out metal energy to strengthen his attacks. Under this crazy bombardment, Yu Yi was instantly unable to withstand it. Why was high-level energy called high-level? It was because it was extremely powerful, and its level far surpassed that of secret power. If one wanted to use secret power to contend against high-level energy, then one needed to have strength that was many times greater. Yu Yi was indeed stronger than Ling Han, but after Ling Han's blood chi erupted, how much of an advantage did he have? It was only about double. Under the 30 layers of power of the Demon Monkey Fist, Yu Yi was already having a hard time, not to mention the high-frequency attacks and high-level energy. Peng! The dagger in Yu Yi's hand flew out, and Ling Han's fist also heavily smashed over, directly attacking his face. He barely managed to block with his hands in front of his body, but only felt a sharp pain coming from his bones. They were definitely broken. At this moment, Yu Yi no longer had any hope of getting lucky. This young man was a monster like Hong Tian Bu. He could be invincible against those who were a level higher than him. He leapt up, wanting to grab his last son and escape. Mph. Ling Han laughed coldly, switching to flowing light fist. Peng, peng, peng. Countless fist shadows exploded, carrying with them golden energy, bombarding towards Yu Yi. This kind of attack, even if Yu Yi defended with all his strength, he would not be able to completely dispel it. How could he dodge it now? He was instantly hit, and was bombarded by a few punches. The high-level energy easily tore through his defense, dealing a heavy blow to him. Peng! Yu Yi fell to the ground, there were many fractures on his body, and he was dripping with blood. He no longer had any of the prestige of a 5-bone elite. Everyone was shocked speechless. A 4-bone elite had defeated a 5-bone elite. Who could believe it? Ling Han looked towards Yu Hai, the other's eyes rolled back, and he fainted from shock. Phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3364. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. After settling the pig with food, Ling Han continued to use it as a pathfinder to understand the changes in the formation. He was so focused that he forgot the passage of time. It was only when the pig protested that he realized the sky was already dark. After eating, the perverted pig refused to accept such inhumane treatment again. He lay down and slept soundly. Ling Han was tired after using his brain for a whole day, so he entered the gourd to rest. The next morning, he finished his cultivation and continued to let the pig test the formation. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days passed, and no one else entered. Or perhaps someone had already entered, but had yet to arrive at his location. Just like that, Ling Han pondered over the formation every day. Though he still couldn't decipher it, he had a feeling that his grasp of formations had improved slightly. Another 2 days passed, and Ling Han finally had an idea. He strode forward, his feet treading a strange path, and his hands threw out an absolute obstruction formation. This array formation was too powerful. An isolation array could only slow down the array formation for half a second. Fortunately, he was stepping on the gaps in the array formation. He only needed this half a second to pass through the place where there were no gaps. Half a minute later, he finally arrived in front of the door. He pushed open the door and entered. Inside was a courtyard with a huge shelf covered in vines. Hanging down from the shelf were 7 gourds of different colors. Gourds again. Ling Han bared his teeth. Could it be that they were going to give him 7 more vitality-nurturing gourds? He hoped to obtain a high-grade treasure fruit that could allow his life level to soar. Gourds again. Why did he have a conflict with the gourds? Could the gourds be eaten? Ling Han scratched his head and threw the pig out. Fortunately, there was no formation in the courtyard, so it was safe. He walked over to the shelf and looked up at the 7 gourds. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, green, purple. The 7 colors were very eye-catching. Moreover, there was no wind, but the 7 gourds were gently moving. It was very strange. Why do I always encounter strange things? Ling Han murmured. The pig also looked at the gourds with a hint of surprise in its eyes. Pluck them and see, Ling Han murmured. No. Let's wait a few more days. Several voices suddenly barged into Ling Han's sea of consciousness at the same time. Although it was only 2 sentences, it felt like 5 or 6 people were speaking at the same time. Hey! Ling Han was surprised. This was divine sense transmission, which could only be used when one's psyche power had reached a certain level. Is there a psychic master here? Ling Han looked around but didn't see anyone. Strange, although psyche power was invisible and could pass through walls, there was a protective array here, so psyche power should not be able to pass through. Therefore, the person who spoke must be in the courtyard. The problem was, other than him, there was only one pig. Pervert is talking to him. Obviously, it was impossible. If it could communicate with telekinesis, this pig would have done it long ago. It would not have dragged on until now. Moreover, the perverted pig would not say such brainless words. Wait a minute, he was just muttering that he was going to pluck the gourd, and that was why he replied like that. He thought for a moment and muttered to himself, "Who's talking to me? Forget it, I don't care anymore. I'll take the gourd first. We can't pick them. We still need a few more days before they ripen. You'll hurt us." Another 2 sentences sounded in Ling Han's mind, but it felt like several people were speaking at the same time. Ling Han was surprised. Damn, it was the gourd talking to him. What the hell, or did it become a spirit? The treasured fruit of heaven and earth could absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, which could greatly improve one's life level. However, he had never heard that the treasured fruit could have its own intelligence and communicate its thoughts. This was really strange. Ling Han thought for a moment and decided to wait for a few days. He did not waste any time. He took out the red hair fruit, ate it, and refined it. Boom, the medicinal power circulated in his body, surging and improving his life level. The Monkey King's method was indeed a top-notch method. The efficiency of absorbing and refining the medicinal power was so high that it only took him a little more than 2 hours to finish refining a red hair fruit. A smile appeared on Ling Han's face. If this continued, he would be able to advance to the peak of 4 changes after refining all the red hair fruits. Cool. He ate the fruits one by one. Perverted Pig also wanted to take a bite, but it was thrown far away by Ling Han. It was so angry that it could not stop snorting. Stingy, too stingy. Weren't they just a few low-level treasured fruits? Phut, how could they be called treasured fruits? A day passed, and Ling Han had already refined all the red hair fruits. He was only a step away from the peak of 4 changes. In the morning, he cultivated when the sun was just rising. However, after only 10 minutes, he found that he had reached a bottleneck and could no longer improve his strength. The peak of 4 changes. He was not in a hurry to break through to 5 changes. Although he wanted to improve his cultivation level, he could not blindly improve his cultivation level just for the sake of it. He needed to strengthen his foundation first. The best way was to fight, but there was no opponent here. Ling Han could only use his telekinesis to check if there were any imperfections in his body. On the other hand, he was still improving his physical skills. It was not like his secret power, which could be improved by a few treasured fruits. Even the purplish-yellow honey could only speed up his cultivation level, but it could not be improved overnight. Days passed, and soon, another 3 days had passed. Ling Han raised his head. He saw that the red gourd was trembling violently, as if it would fall off the vine at any moment. A gentleman would not stand on a collapsing wall. He decisively moved a few steps away to prevent the gourd from falling and smashing his head. This was not an unnecessary move. After a while, sure enough, the red gourd broke away from the vine and fell to the ground under the influence of gravity. This was considered cooked. How should he eat it? Braised or steamed? Right under Ling Han's gaze, the red gourd suddenly split into 2 halves. TSK, it was so cooked that it had split open on its own. Father. A clear and melodious voice rang out. He saw that a little child had actually climbed out of the gourd. Ling Han was stunned. Although he had many children, he definitely did not have this. He glanced at it. Oh, it was a little girl. Seeing that Ling Han did not reply, the little girl tilted her head and mumbled, "There's no reaction when I call you father. Could it be that mother is acting strange? Could it be that I saw wrongly? Forget it, who asked us to be involved?" F***ck, this little girl was too mature. She had just been born, and she already said such things. "Mother," the little girl said again in a melodious voice. Ling Han wiped his cold sweat and said, "I'm a man." "That's right." The little girl clapped her hands, looking as if she had known this would be the case. She ran over with her little legs wide open, opened her arms, and said, "Father, I want a hug." Happy to be a father, Ling Han sighed, picked up the little girl, and said, "I'm not your father." The little girl revealed a shocked expression. "You still want to be a mother? F***ck, why are you so fixated on this matter?" Ling Han sighed, and said, "Just call me uncle." It was more refreshing to read on the phone. Chapter 3365. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC Father. The little girl was very insistent. Ling Han sighed. Forget it, it was just a form of address. There was no need to be so calculative. "What are you, Calabash Brothers?" he complained. Father, how did you know?" The little girl tilted her head and looked at Ling Han with a look that said, "You're so smart." What else could it be other than Calabash Brothers that popped out of the calabash? Ling Han looked at the other 6 calabashes and couldn't help but grimace. Were they all like this? Did they all have to call him father? However, this little girl was chubby and full of life. She was really adorable. "Are they all your younger brothers and sisters?" he asked. Someone had spoken to him through divine sense, and there was more than one voice. "Father, you're so smart," the little girl praised. Great, he was being praised by a little girl. Ling Han looked at the little girl and asked, "Do you have a name?" These Calabash Brothers were not even born yet, but they could already communicate with him through telekinesis. How powerful would they be when they grew up? They were indeed treasured fruits raised by the heavens. However, this was the first time he had heard of people growing out of treasured fruits. "Yes, I'm eldest brother," the little girl said in a childish voice. Ling Han couldn't help but sweat. Then will it be second brother, third brother, fourth brother, all the way to 7th brother? Father, you're so smart. No wonder you can be our father. Eldest brother praised Ling Han again. Ah, he was being praised by a little girl again. Ling Han sighed. It seemed like he was regressing more and more. He looked at the little girl and suddenly became curious. What skills do you have? Eldest brother stretched out his arm and compared his muscles. Father, I'm very strong. Ling Han couldn't help but laugh. He couldn't help but laugh when such a little girl made such a pose and said such words in such a tone. Coo. The fat pig slowly crawled over and peeked at eldest brother with a strange expression. Eldest baby turned his head to look, and his eyes immediately lit up. He started drooling. Dad, can we eat roast suckling pig later? Wait, this development is too fast. When you were born, shouldn't you start drinking milk? However, if he really wanted to drink milk, Ling Han would definitely be very embarrassed. Where would he go to milk? The perverted pig was furious. Why did everyone want to eat roast suckling pig? Roast your sister. It was very tolerant towards beautiful women, but a girl who had just been born obviously couldn't arouse its tenderness towards the fairer sex. It immediately glared back at her and snorted. It's fun. Elder baby picked up the fat pig. Although she wasn't much bigger than the pig, she was quite strong. She didn't feel any burden carrying the pig. Ling Han clicked his tongue in amazement. It was indeed worthy of being born from a precious fruit. It could communicate through telekinesis even before it was born, talk as soon as it was born, and crawl all over the ground with its butt bare. It was quite strong. However, she was a girl after all, and it wasn't good for her to always be so butt naked. Ling Han plucked a calabash leaf and tied it around the little girl's body. It was perfect for using it as a doo-doo. He began to prepare food, and elder baby and the fat pig came over one after another, drooling. What a loser. After he finished cooking, the two of them and the pig began to eat. Even though eldest brother was small in stature, he did not slurp his food at all, and his appetite was not smaller than Ling Han's at all. This caused Ling Han to involuntarily worry. If all 7 bottle-gourd brothers were like this, would they eat until he went broke? He sighed. It really wasn't easy being a nanny. After eating, Ling Han decided to go to other parts of the orchard to take a look. There was a protective formation here, so Ling Han believed that the chances of a second person breaking in were not high. That was because an existence like the fat pig could be said to be unique. Since that was the case, how could others have so many chances to try? He clamped the fat pig and elder baby in his armpits, and then walked out with special footwork. Naturally, he also used the isolation formation. Fortunately, there was enough space left, so he didn't have to worry about being trapped in this herb garden. He walked, and after searching for about 2 hours, he finally found something. A short plant appeared in front of him. It was not more than half the height of a person, and it had dense leaves. Among the leaves, there was a light purple fruit. This was the rainbow fruit. Ling Han was pleasantly surprised. The rainbow fruit was a life-type treasure fruit. If he wanted to break through to the 5 or 6 changes, he would need such an item. In fact, it wasn't just the blood transformation realm. It was the same at the ultimate bone realm. Life fruits were needed every time to replenish or recover the depletion of one's life source. This was because raising one's realm was essentially raising one's level of life, and it naturally required a large amount of life source. This was not something that could be replenished with mystic power. Luck. There was a total of 17 rainbow fruits, and they were all ripe. He quickly picked them and stored them in the spirit cultivation gourd. Dad, you actually fancy such a low-grade life fruit? Elder baby said from the side, his face full of disdain. Ling Han chuckled. If anyone was willing to throw such a low-grade life fruit at him, he wouldn't mind. Oh, there's also a gourd. Elder baby was a little careless, and only now did he realize that there was a gourd tied to Ling Han's waist. He couldn't help but be filled with curiosity, and he came over to ask, "Hey, who are you?" This was the spirit cultivation gourd, and it wouldn't split open and a baby would jump out. Naturally, it wouldn't respond to her. Elder baby tilted his head, filled with confusion. Why was this brother and sister ignoring her? Oh, rainbow fruit. A pleasantly surprised voice rang out, and 3 youths walked out together. Ling Han was a little surprised, and he looked at the 3 youths. There had to be an array master among them, or they wouldn't have been able to enter. The 3 youths naturally saw Ling Han's group, and they all revealed looks of surprise. This combination was really too strange. Aside from Ling Han, who was considered normal, there was a child who looked to be only 2 or 3 years old. He couldn't even afford to buy clothes, and had to use leaves to form a pouch. The other was a pig. Aside from being fat and somewhat adorable, there was no other strong point. You actually brought these 2 burdens to explore an ancient site. You really know how to have fun. Mph, hand over the flying rainbow fruit. Immediately, a youth shouted at Ling Han. Although he didn't see Ling Han pick the fruit, he could see the obvious plucking marks, so it was definitely Ling Han who did it. Why? Ling Han laughed. Because we're stronger than you, the youth said. He was dressed in yellow, and his expression was very arrogant. Pu Xing, don't waste time with him. Just take him down and beat him up, and he'll naturally be obedient, a youth in green said to the side. The last youth in white did not say anything, but he had an arrogant expression on his face. All right, take him down and beat him up first, the yellow-clothed Pu Xing said, and he even rolled up his sleeves. How dare you? You want to beat up my father? Elder Baby immediately became angry, and he rushed towards Pu Xing. Reading on mobile phones is more refreshing. Chapter 3366. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC Eldest Baby rushed out, his speed so fast that even Ling Han did not expect it. He could not catch him even if he wanted to. Bam! A mushroom cloud appeared behind Elder Baby, followed by a sonic boom. At that moment, the little boy had already reached Pu Xing and was about to throw a punch at him with his fair and tender little fist. Even Ling Han did not expect Eldest Baby's explosive power to be so terrifying, let alone the other 3. Indeed, who would have thought that a little baby could be so powerful? Pu Xing seemed to be dumbfounded. Eldest Baby punched him in the face, and then he was sent flying. Green robe and white robe's heads followed Pu Xing's figure. They watched helplessly as he knocked down several large trees before collapsing. Hiss, it must have hurt. Sigh, you want to beat up my father with such little strength? So weak. Eldest Baby shook his head, a look of disdain on his face. Ling Han was shocked. Eldest Baby's speed had definitely reached twice the speed of sound. This little baby was actually at the ultimate bone realm. Ling Han was shocked. He knew that Eldest Baby was born from heaven and earth and had many extraordinary abilities. But to be born at the ultimate bone realm, this was too much. He was born from a god's stone, but he did not start out as a mortal. This was too unfair. What the hell? White robe and green robe looked at each other, unable to contain their shock. This was too shocking, too unimaginable. A little baby was actually a ultimate bone realm cultivator. They must be dreaming. You two are not good people either. Eldest Baby stared at green robe and white robe. He clenched his fists, looking very excited and eager to fight. Ling Han finally understood. This girl said that she was avenging him, but in reality, she just wanted to fight to satisfy her craving. The man in white snorted and waved his hands. Immediately, several array bases appeared on the ground. Array Master. Ling Han glanced at them and shook his head. This man in white had set up the 7 Wolves Killing Array, which was a mid-level array. To be able to set up a mid-level array formation at such a young age was actually not easy. However, against someone at the extreme bone realm, this array formation was not enough. After the formation was set up, the green-robed man's heart calmed down. With the formation assisting him, his confidence increased greatly. I'm coming. Eldest Baby shouted excitedly. Then, she rushed over. Peng, her figure accelerated, and she charged toward the formation. Peng, she arrived in an instant. Her entire person was like an ancient monster, and the entire formation was instantly smashed into pieces. The white-robed and green-robed duo turned pale with fright, but before they could recover from their shock, Eldest Baby threw another punch. Peng, the white-robed person, was immediately sent flying. She waved her little white fist again, and Peng, the green-robed person was also sent flying. Violence, he wasn't going to reason with them. He was going to use the most brutal method to crush them. Eldest baby seemed to be getting excited from the fight. He turned around and stared at Ling Han, as if he wanted to beat up Ling Han as well. This little violent maniac. Ling Han gritted his teeth. The other 6 wouldn't do the same, would they? It was scary just thinking about it. The 7 babies looked harmless, and they were even pink and white, and incredibly cute. However, when they rushed out, they were filled with killing intent and violence. No, he had to educate them properly in the future. They couldn't be so violent. Eldest baby, let's go. Ling Han smiled and waved his hand. Yes, father. Eldest baby returned to the appearance of a porcelain doll. He was chubby, and there was no need to mention how cute he was. Even the fat pig was shaking its head and grumbling. Who knew how many people would be deceived by this little baby's appearance in the future? Ling Han didn't target Pu Xing and the other 2. Since the 3 of them didn't intend to kill him and rob him, he naturally wouldn't kill them. However, he still searched the 3 of them, but he didn't find any treasure fruits, which made him very disappointed. Paupers. He threw these words at them. He carried the baby in one hand and the pig in the other, and swaggered off. Pu Xing and the other 2 were so ashamed that they wanted to die. As the victims, they were robbed and even called poor. There was no way to humiliate them like this. Ling Han continued to search for treasure fruits. He saw from outside that there were more than what he had obtained. Eldest baby, did you know how to cultivate in the gourd? He asked, his face full of curiosity. Eldest baby blinked and said, when I was in the gourd, I was always sleeping. I only woke up from time to time recently. Damn, his strength was innate. He was so awesome even without cultivating. Ling Han was green with envy. Why couldn't he come out of the divine stone with his celestial venerable cultivation? Then how did you know how to talk? He asked again. Eldest baby tilted his head and looked puzzled. I knew it when I was born. Ling Han was worried. Eldest baby's expression made him look like he was looking at a retard. Ling Han didn't want to ask anymore. This was too much of a blow to his confidence. However, his curiosity was quickly aroused. He asked again, then do you have any bloodline inheritance? Do you know any techniques since you were born? No. Eldest baby shook his head. Ling Han heaved a sigh of relief. He finally found a trace of balance. However, we don't need to cultivate. As long as we grow up, our strength will increase and our supernatural powers will naturally form. This is because our level of life far surpasses that of father, eldest baby said, mercilessly attacking Ling Han. Damn. Chapter 3368. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC. Fortunately, Ling Han was completely immersed in his own world. Not to mention that there were only a few people arguing outside, he wouldn't have any reaction even if there was an earthquake. Pop, pop, pop. He gradually entered a good state. More and more shackles in his body were broken and shattered, allowing his life level to reach a higher level. After half a day, the momentum finally stopped. Ling Han let out a long breath. He only felt that his whole body was wet, and there was a black substance on his skin that smelled very fishy. This was the impurities that were expelled from his body after his life level had improved. Hey! Yo! Eldest baby and second baby both covered their noses and hid far away. Dad, you stink. The 2 babies said at the same time in disdain. There was clean water in the spirit-nurturing gourd. Ling Han washed himself, and the fishy smell immediately disappeared. 5 changes. Ling Han released his aura slightly, and there was a diamond-like glow. He revealed a smile. It was the right decision to come out this time. If he cultivated hard, he might not be able to break through to the paramount bone realm even after a year. But now, he was confident that he could do it in 3 months. How could he be so fast? Because martial art had just begun to flourish, and the large-scale appearance of the treasure fruits of heaven and earth gave everyone the possibility to rise in a short period of time. Otherwise, if they had to rely on themselves one step at a time, their progress would naturally be relatively slow. Therefore, they had to take advantage of this time to rise. Otherwise, it would be difficult to obtain the treasure fruits in the future when all the historical sites were occupied by other forces. Ling Han took a look. He had used up 7 rainbow fruits, and now he still had 10 treasure fruits of life. In addition, he still had 4 precious flame lotuses and many unripe treasure fruits. Could they support him to reach the peak of the 5th transformation? Ling Han didn't know. He first had a full meal, and then he went out with the 2 babies and the fat pig to continue looking for the treasure fruits. Second baby not only had all-seeing eyes, but he could also see through obstacles. It was very convenient for him to search for the treasure fruits. He didn't need to take any detours and went straight to the target. It was a pity that there were no ripe fruits in the huge herb garden, which made Ling Han very depressed. If he could occupy this historical site, he could slowly wait for the fruits to ripen. The key was that his individual strength was indeed powerful, but he had almost no subordinates. How could he occupy an historical site? Oh, just 2 babies and a little suckling pig. If word of this got out, he would probably be laughed to death. Therefore, regardless of whether it was ripe or not, Ling Han went to pick the fruit first. If it was not ripe, it meant that the effect was not as good. After plucking the treasured fruit, Ling Han did not waste any time. He returned to the gourd room and concentrated on his cultivation while waiting for the other 5 babies to be born. Another day later, a yellow gourd fell from the sky. 3rd baby. Sure enough, it was still a girl. She was shockingly beautiful, but she was incomparably arrogant. She was obviously using her eyes to hook Ling Han, wanting to hug her, but she didn't make a sound. Ling Han couldn't help but laugh. He reached out and picked up 3rd baby. Mate, since you're my father, I'll let you hug me, 3rd baby said reluctantly. What's so special about 3rd bro? Ling Han asked. Mate, 3rd baby tilted his head, as if he was too lazy to answer. After a while, he said, the body is indestructible. Ling Han exclaimed and looked at the little pink pig. Isn't this the same as you? Me. Unexpectedly, the fat pig and 3rd baby snorted at the same time, looking at each other with disdain. How dare you snort at me? 3rd baby was displeased. Come, let's beat it to death and eat the roast suckling pig. Eldest baby was excited and directly rushed up to strangle perverted pig. Gu. Perverted pig screamed. Eldest baby was strong. Its weakness is here. 2nd baby used his eye technique and pointed out the relatively weak spot of perverted pig's defense. Okay. Eldest baby condensed black energy and punched the fat pig hard. The fat pig screamed. Although its body was not bad, it could still feel pain. Eldest baby activated the black energy and made it feel the pain. Hee hee. Ha ha. Eldest baby and 2nd baby laughed, while 3rd baby was very reserved and looked disdainful. Ling Han felt a headache coming on. These 3 babies were already acting like little ancestors. What would happen in the future? However, since it was perverted pig, there was no need to worry. It wouldn't die anyway. Gu. Perverted pig screamed and looked pitifully at Ling Han. You're just going to watch me die, you bastard. In just 2 days, Ling Han had completely refined all the treasured fruits, but he was still a bit away from the peak of the 5 transformation. He still needed at least 10 more days of bitter cultivation. He waited patiently. It was just the right time to improve his body skills. In any case, before his body reached the peak of the blood transformation realm, it was impossible for him to break through to the ultimate bone realm. After so many days, not only did more and more people enter the historical site, but there were also many people who had the strength to enter the medicinal garden. Many powers would train their own formation masters, which was very useful at times like this. However, there was currently no formation master who could open the formation seal of the gourd room. But this was the only place in the medicinal garden with a formation within a formation. Everyone had no gains elsewhere, so they all gathered here. At first, there had been conflicts, but later they had all stopped fighting. Instead, they had joined forces to break the formation. This array formation was too difficult to break. Even with the combined wisdom of several array masters, if they wanted to break it, it would take them at least 20 days to a month. The harder it was to break, the more everyone looked forward to it. Since this place had been sealed, there must be some rare treasured medicine hidden inside. Dad, there are so many people outside. Second baby used his eye ability to see the situation outside through the wall. How many? Asked Ling Han. 1, 3, 7, 6, 5, 9. The little girl began to count. One hand wasn't enough, so she used 2 hands. 2 hands weren't enough, so she used her feet as well. Then she also used eldest baby's hands and feet, but it still wasn't enough. However, third baby was too proud and didn't let her use him. The little girl counted her fingers for a long time, then gnawed on one of them. Finally, she used both hands to draw a circle and concluded, many, many. Well, he shouldn't have had any expectations of her at all. Asking a counting idiot like her this question, he was also out of his mind. Ling Han laughed. His plan to teach second baby how to count had to be put on the agenda. Dad, let me kill them. Eldest baby's murderous aura flared up, and his violent tendencies flared up again. Ling Han sighed and said, don't rush. Wait for the remaining gourds, no, the remaining 5 babies. F*ck, even I don't know how to count anymore. Wait for the remaining 4 babies to be born, then we'll kill them all in one go. It was true that he got influenced by second baby to the point where he couldn't count anymore. Third baby had a proud look on his face. It was just a few people. What was there to care about? She could kill them all by herself. Another 2 days passed, and fourth baby landed. Yes, it was a girl. Bang! Just as fourth baby landed, another gourd fell, and fifth baby was born. It was more refreshing to read on the phone. Chapter 3369. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC Father, do you want a hug? Father, I want a hug too. Fourth baby and fifth baby hugged one of Ling Han's legs from both sides and raised their heads. Childish, third baby said coldly. She turned her head and hugged Ling Han's neck. At the moment, she was in Ling Han's arms. Third baby, come down. Fourth baby shouted. Yes, come down. Fifth baby shouted. Third baby was too arrogant to bother answering. Poof. Fourth baby opened its mouth, and a fire arrow flew toward third baby. Fifth baby followed suit and also opened his mouth to spit out a water arrow. Ling Han hurriedly leaped into the air. By the looks of it, eldest baby was not the only one with violent tendencies. These 2 babies were not much better, either. They actually really attacked. Third baby turned around and chuckled at fourth baby and fifth baby. He didn't say anything, but the disdain in his eyes was clear. Ling Han could not help but sigh. They were all on the same side. Could you not be so arrogant? Needless to say, fourth baby was good at using fire, while fifth baby was good at using water. He was born with the ability to extract high-level fire and water energy and had amazing destructive power. These 2 babies were like conjoined twins. Their actions were completely synchronized. It was a miracle that one was fire and the other was water, but there was no situation where water and fire could not get along. In another 2 days, sixth baby would be born. However, when the gourd was opened, Ling Han did not see anything. Father. However, a voice could be heard. You know how to become invisible. Ling Han immediately understood. Light and shadow flashed, and a blurry figure appeared in front of him, but he could not see it clearly. Yes, Father, sixth baby said. I still can't use space energy perfectly, so I can't control my appearance. Ling Han stretched out his hand to touch it. The strange thing was that sixth baby was not invisible in terms of divine sense or vision. It really seemed to be in another space and could not be touched at all. He had an idea and said, Can you pass through this room? Yes, sixth baby said. The blurry silhouette flashed. When it reached the wall, it suddenly disappeared. After a while, the silhouette reappeared. I'm sorry, sixth baby said. That was awesome. Ling Han couldn't help but be tempted. With sixth baby, in the future when he entered the historical site, it wouldn't be just a simple matter of walking around. Dad, there's a limit to how far I can go. If the power of the formation is too strong or the materials themselves are too strong, I won't be able to go through, sixth baby added. Ling Han was a little disappointed, but the fact that sixth baby could pass through this formation was already impressive enough. It was enough to deal with the current formation. He began to look forward to seventh baby. The first 6 babies all had powerful abilities. What special abilities did seventh baby have? However, the seventh baby was born much later than he had expected. Ling Han had already pushed his mystic power to the peak of the 5 changes, but the 7th calabash was still firmly hanging on the vine, showing no signs of falling. Seventh is asleep again, second baby said. She could see through the gourd with her eye sorcery. Hey, seventh, stop sleeping. It's time to be born, eldest baby called out, putting on the airs of a boss. The corner of Ling Han's mouth twitched again. These 7 children really had their own unique characteristics. One was a violent maniac, one was a rare idiot, one was aloof, and there was one that loved to sleep. Was this really something that a single gourd vine could give birth to? He was suspicious. What kind of calabash vine was this? Did it have this kind of vine? After a long time, the last calabash shook gently, as if seventh baby had woken up. But after a while, the calabash stopped moving again. She's asleep again, second baby said helplessly after taking a look. What a sleeper, eldest baby yelled. His violent tendencies were about to act up again. Take her down. She can come out whenever she wants, third baby said proudly. Okay. The other babies nodded. Hey, didn't they say that they couldn't take it down? Seventh is already ripe. She's just too lazy to be born, so taking it down won't affect her, second baby explained. That's fine too. Ling Han was speechless. He took the calabash down, but he was surprised because he couldn't put it into the spirit cultivation gourd. He had tried before, and the other babies could all go in. Entering a spatial artifact requires the subject's will to not resist. Although seventh is asleep, she has self-defense awareness, so it's impossible to put her in, second baby explained. Ling Han looked over, and his expression was a little strange. Are you sure you only have clairvoyance and X-ray vision, and can't see through other people's thoughts? He didn't even ask the first 2 questions. How did you know? Because I'm smart, second baby said proudly. Your ability to read people's expressions and reason is really amazing, but why is your ability to count so weak? Don't you think it's strange? Ling Han ridiculed madly. Okay, then let's leave, he said. There was no point in complaining. Let's hurry back to the capital. He was tired of staying here. Because seventh baby couldn't be put into the spirit cultivation gourd, Ling Han could only carry it on his back. This was much bigger than the spirit cultivation gourd, and it occupied his entire back. In addition, there was a proud third baby in front of him, always hanging on his chest and around his neck. Fourth baby and fifth baby were hanging on his legs. It looked really weird. With a squeak, Ling Han opened the door. Outside, the 7 major forces were working together to break the array. They also had 7 array masters studying it, but they didn't have a strong pathfinder like Seju, so they could only catch some demon beasts and throw them in. This was inefficient because any demon beast would be killed in 1 hit. They could only test it once, and the progress was extremely slow. I think we should throw the blocking array here, an array master said loudly. No, you're completely wrong. Another array master immediately shook his head, expressing a different opinion. The 7 array masters were divided into 2 factions, arguing until their faces were flushed. Shouldn't we go persuade them? A blue-robed youth smiled, his smile somewhat evil. It's good to have an argument. It means there's progress and passion. Otherwise, a pool of stagnant water would be finished. Beside him was a blue-robed man who looked to be almost 30 years old. Sigh, when will this formation be broken? I'm getting impatient from waiting. Another young man stretched his back. Be patient. The longer you wait, the more you'll gain, the 4th youth said. If you can't wait, you can leave. The 5th youth was very cold. There were 7 youths in total, but each of their identities was very shocking. They were all descendants of the few princes who ranked high in Xianbei country. They couldn't be called princes, but dukes. Some of them didn't even have the qualifications to be dukes, but marquises. Although they all had the surname Chen, the princes fought openly and covertly to inherit the throne. Of course, they, the younger generation, wouldn't deal with each other. If it wasn't to break the array, they definitely wouldn't work together. But at this moment, with a squeak, the door to the room opened. Everyone turned to look, and suddenly saw 3 children hanging from Ling Han's body, and a large purple gourd on his back. What the hell was this? In an instant, the entire place was silent. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3370. A Good Romance. BQG 6. Cece. This scene was extremely strange. Who would have thought that the door protected by the array formation would open and a person would run out? Moreover, a person coming out was a person. Why did it have to be such a strange method? He had never heard of anyone bringing a child to a historical site. Moreover, there were 3 of them. Puff, however, everyone soon realized that they were wrong because there were actually 2 milk babies behind this man. In reality, there were 3 of them, but no one could see 6th baby. What's going on? What's going on? What kind of brain does a person have to bring along 5 children to enter a dangerous historical site alone? No, no, no. Do you have a brain? After this thought flashed through their minds, they thought of another problem. Why did this guy come out of there? No one would believe that he had been here all along. How old would he be? Even those at the engravement realm only had a lifespan of around 500 years. How long had this historical site been buried for? No matter what, it had to be at least 2,000 years. Who could live for so long? Therefore, this person should have entered before them. Array Master. Everyone came to a consensus. 7 intermediate array masters had joined hands, but they still could not break this array after more than 10 days. It was clear how big the gap between them was. An outstanding alchemist or array master was an absolute support, and could even change the strength of a force. At once, the eyes of every duke and marquis lit up. "Sir, how should I address you?" Chen Kaiyu asked with a smile on his face, seeming quite courteous. He hurriedly said, "I am Chen Kaiyu, the 7th son of the 4th prince. This marquis is Chen Wudong, my ancestor is the 2nd prince," another person said. The 7 imperial grandsons introduced themselves one after another, extending an olive branch to Ling Han. "Why are you so attentive?" The fact that Ling Han was an advanced array master was one of the reasons. In addition, he had obviously obtained the item in the house. Therefore, if he recruited Ling Han under his command, it would naturally be a piece of cake for him to obtain the treasure. What kind of combat power could an array master have? Ling Han smiled faintly and said, excuse me. He did not intend to have too much interaction with any of the princes, let alone the prince's sons and grandsons. This kind of attitude made the 7 princes very dissatisfied. What kind of status did they have? Being able to lower themselves to greet him was already giving him enough face, but he was really putting on airs. "Hand over the things you obtained inside and you can leave," Chen Xueming said. He was too lazy to waste his breath. Ling Han chuckled and said, "All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just nice, each of you can bring a child back." "Father, why don't you want us?" The invisible 6th baby immediately shouted. "Father, don't abandon us." 4th baby and 5th baby grabbed onto Ling Han's thighs tightly. Eldest baby, on the other hand, was brimming with killing intent as he said, "It's fine. As long as we get rid of all these fellows, father won't be able to send us away." "That's right." A few of the milk babies were energized, and even the arrogant 3rd baby's eyes lit up. "There's something wrong with your ability to understand." Ling Han sighed. He was clearly just joking. "You dare tease us?" Chen Kaiyu snorted. "Those who disrespect the royal family will be killed without mercy," Chen Wudong said coldly. "Take him down first, then we'll see what treasures he obtained." "After all, we are family," Chen Xueming said. "All right." Everyone nodded. On the other side, eldest baby and the others were also rubbing their palms together. None of the 6 milk babies were obedient. "Kill." On the contrary, They were the first to attack. On the surface, the 5 milk babies attacked Chen Xueming and the others at the same time. Chen Xueming and the others naturally did not care. It would be strange if they cared about the 5 milk babies. They did not need to do anything. Naturally, the guards stood up and blocked the milk babies. Bang! Eldest baby knocked over one person with a punch, while second baby's eyes shot out lightning. Her opponent was immediately sent flying. The arrogant third baby was not arrogant at all during the battle. Instead, she used her small body to directly collide with her opponent. She was like an ancient ferocious beast. With one collision, her opponent was sent flying. Fourth baby spat fire and fifth baby spat water. In an instant, 2 more people were sent flying. Sixth baby attacked without anyone noticing. Her opponent screamed and fell to the ground in a completely unconscious state. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the 7 royal grandchildren widened, and their mouths opened to an exaggerated extent. What the hell? They were just 5 milk babies. How could they be so fierce? Spitting fire, water, and electricity, it was like a dream. The high-level energy was, after all, a member of the royal family. They reacted immediately. Spitting fire and water was not because they had strange powers, but because they could communicate with high-level energy. But it was too exaggerated. These 5 were clearly milk babies. How could they cultivate such powerful telekinesis? Moreover, they had to possess extremely high-level spirit diagrams to be able to communicate with such terrifying high-level energy. Kill. Eldest baby, the violent maniac, rushed to the front line. She communicated with high-level energy, and her entire body was enveloped in a layer of black energy, making her look bigger. Bang! She exploded with terrifying speed. She was almost 3 times the speed of sound. No one could stop her, and they were all sent flying by her. Strong baby, no, violent baby. The 7 royal grandchildren hurriedly attacked. Naturally, they did not want to be sent flying by a milk baby. However, in her explosive state, eldest baby was too ferocious. She had infinite strength and was indestructible. The 7 royal grandchildren were quickly beaten to a pulp. Boss, leave some for us. Second baby and the others all rushed up and beat them up. In less than 2 or 3 minutes, the ground was full of people lying on the ground. Fortunately, Ling Han had given the order beforehand. They could fight, but they couldn't kill. They couldn't let these babies' hands be covered in blood, right? Thus, not a single one of them died. They all lay on the ground, moaning. Goodbye, everyone. Ling Han smiled, grabbed Little Pig, and swaggered off. After leaving the herb garden, there was nothing else worth exploring in this historical site. There were only old mansions. Second baby had already used his eye sorcery to scan the area. The inside was very clean, and there was not a single thing of value left behind. According to second baby, the tables, chairs, and cabinets were all very tidy. It should not have been rummaged through, but the Eternal Moon sect left on their own. As Ling Han walked, he thought about what had happened at that time. Why did the Eternal Moon sect move en masse? The previous generation of civilization had suddenly broken off, so it was very likely that many of the martial art forces had also suddenly left overnight. Strange, this was really strange. Ling Han brought the milk babies back. Although they were small, their cultivation was equivalent to the extreme bone realm, and they did not drag Ling Han down at all. A few days later, Ling Han returned to the imperial capital. When he approached the imperial capital, the photon computer reconnected to the network, and Ling Han also understood the current general situation. The demon race prince had returned in defeat, and this caused a great sensation in the Yu dynasty. This time, another diplomatic group was sent out, and they specifically wanted to fight with Ling Han and Hong Tian Bu. End of chapter. Phone reading is more refreshing. Chapter 3372. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Little heads popped out from the living room door and looked at Lian Shuarong curiously. Is this Ah Niang? So big. What a perky butt. Ah Niang likes this type. The 6 babies were all talking at once, but of course, only 5 of them could be seen. Lian Shuarong was stunned. Didn't you go out for an adventure? Why did you suddenly bring back 5 children? You're too fast. However, these 5 children were really delicate and cute. Even with her cold arrogance, she liked them from the bottom of her heart. But when did she become Ling Han's wife? Moreover, these girls were too precocious. What perky breasts! Could they say that in front of her? Even Ling Han felt slightly awkward. These little girls really had no filter on their mouths. Ling Han laughed loudly and said, "Flagmaster Lian, there's no need to mind the words of a few brats." Of course, Lian Shuarong wouldn't mind either. Otherwise, she would feel uncomfortable. However, she suddenly thought that if these 5 girls were really born from her and Ling Han. Fut, fut, fut. She quickly shook her head. What was wrong with her? Why would she think like that? Moreover, 5 of them. Could she bear it? Flagmaster Lian, what's wrong? Ling Han asked. Why did this cool flagmaster's face suddenly become as red as a peach? It made him feel a little amorous. Sigh, his Dao foundation was not stable. Otherwise, how could he be like this after not getting close to women for less than a year? Lian Shuarong quickly used the image of a handsome figure in white to drive away the wild thoughts in her mind. It had always been effective, but now it wasn't as effective. She felt a little uneasy. Ahem. She coughed lightly and said, "I'm warning you. The demons have been looking for you. You must not show yourself." Oh. Ling Han was interested. He really wanted to know more about the demons, but he hadn't had the chance to see Shenyuan Dingwa yet, so he didn't have the chance to ask. "Who are the strong demons this time?" he asked. Lian Shuarong thought for a moment and said, "It's said that the 4th prince is leading the demons this time. He's also in the enlightening state, but he didn't take part. Instead, he's pushing 2 people. The first is Yuan Ying. He has the cultivation of the engravement realm, and it is said that he is one of the strongest geniuses of the demon race. This time, he specially came to deal with Hong Tianbu." Ling Han was astonished. Didn't the demon race all use their race as their surname? Why was there suddenly a different race? Yuan what race? Lian Shuarong naturally did not know the ridicule in his heart, and continued, "The demon race wants to prove that they are more outstanding than the human race, so they want to defeat Hong Tianbu in a battle of the same cultivation level." Ling Han nodded. He believed that this Yuan Ying must be at the enlightening state, or else he would just be a piece of cake. "The second one is here to snipe you. He's called Mr. Cat," Lian Shuarong said. What kind of name was Mr. Cat? "He's at the extreme bone realm." Lian Shuarong said, "That's why I'm here to advise you not to be impulsive and agree to the duel with Mr. Cat." Ling Han could not help but feel gloomy. Why would he do that? Oh, Hong Tianbu's opponent was at the engravement realm, the same cultivation level as him, while his opponent was at the extreme bone realm, an entire cultivation level higher than him. Wasn't this bullying? I think that the demon race probably doesn't have any blood transformation realm geniuses, so they can only send out a extreme bone realm to suppress you, Lian Shuarong said, a trace of admiration in her eyes. In such a large demon race, they actually could not find a blood transformation realm cultivator who could contend against Ling Han, let alone defeat him. Remember, no matter what happens, don't show yourself. Just pretend that you haven't returned to the capital, Lian Shuarong warned again. Why should we be afraid? Eldest baby immediately jumped out. Right, why should we be afraid? 4th baby and 5th baby followed along. If they dare to come, we'll kill one if they come. If 2 come, we'll kill a pair, 2nd baby said. 3rd baby snorted, expressing his disdain. 6th baby once they were invisible, they could ignore whatever they said. Lian Shuarong could only smile bitterly. These 5 babies looked like they were carved from jade, and they were extremely cute. Why were they so violent? They must have been led astray by Ling Han. Wasn't that so? Children wouldn't understand. She couldn't help but look at Ling Han. How did he take care of children? Ling Han was unjustly implicated, but he couldn't explain that these 6 babies had already formed their own wills when they were still in the gourd. It had nothing to do with him. Also, you should at least get them some clothes, Lian Shuarong chided. Although they were small, they were still girls. How could they only have a few leaves to protect themselves? That was true. Ling Han nodded, indicating that he accepted it humbly. Let's go, I'll help you buy clothes, Lian Shuarong said. She naturally felt that a grown man would definitely not know how to pick out women's clothes, even if he was just a child. Under Lian Shuarong's strong request, Ling Han could only yield. He brought 5 babies with him, but it was actually 6. After a round, the 5 babies were all wearing new clothes, and each of them had 3 sets of clothes to change into. 6th baby was naturally ignored by Lian Shuarong, but Ling Han bought 2 more sets. One set was for 6th baby. Even if she was invisible, he couldn't pretend that she didn't exist. The other set was for 7th baby. Although this girl slept too much, she still had no intention of being born. Meanwhile, Lian Shuarong's face was still a little hot. Previously, when she had entered the store to pick out items, the employees had all treated her as Ling Han's wife, and treated the 5 children as her daughters, addressing her as madam. However, the babies even jeered and called her mother, not giving her a chance to correct them. She was embarrassed to stay any longer, so she quickly ran away. Sigh, she's too thin-skinned. She's not qualified to be our mother, the babies all commented. It was obvious that they were deliberately making fun of Lian Shuarong. Ling Han chuckled. He didn't have any thoughts about Lian Shuarong, so he naturally had no intention of correcting these babies. He applied to the academy to change to a bigger residence, but even though he had submitted the application, it would take time for the approval. Ling Han used the optical computer to search for suitable materials for the array foundation. He had already reached a preliminary agreement with someone, and they were carrying out the transaction at the agreed location. After a day, the transaction was finalized. After he paid through the optical computer, he went to the agreed location to carry out the transaction with the other party. The other party was an old man. When he saw Ling Han, he couldn't help but look surprised. He said, "So it's the famous Ling Han." Ling Han chuckled. The other party recognized him, but he didn't recognize his opponent. He said, "May I ask how I should address you, old man?" "Jin Sanyin." The old man smiled. Was there such a name? Ling Han didn't care. He was just asking casually. Jin Sanyin took out the materials and handed them to Ling Han. After Ling Han confirmed it, he let the internet platform transfer the money to Jin Sanyin. With the platform's guarantee, it was naturally a great relief. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3373. BQG6. CC BQG6. CC. After exchanging a few words with Jin Sanyin, Ling Han took his leave. Jin Sanyin said that if Ling Han had any other needs, he could continue to look for him. The Jin clan specialized in the material business. Basically, as long as Ling Han asked, they would be able to get it. Of course, the prerequisite was that Ling Han could afford it. Though Ling Han had left, Jin Sanyin did not. He was still sipping tea in the private room, looking extremely relaxed and carefree. The door suddenly opened and a young man in his 20s walked in. The young man sat down and asked, "Ninth Grandpa, isn't it too much of a loss to sell this thing to him at such a low price?" Jin Sanyin smiled and said, "This young man is very outstanding. This old man is very optimistic about his future. So let's just treat this as a good karma. Maybe in the future, we will need his help. Our Jin clan will need his help." The young man expressed his dissatisfaction and said proudly, "If not for our low profile, how could the Chen clan become the emperor?" Jin Sanyin's expression changed and said, "Xiaojian, you are too arrogant. The Chen clan is not as simple as you think." Jin Xiaojian was still unconvinced and said, "Ninth Grandpa, you have been deceived by the rumors. What flying mouse? How can the current environment give birth to a life core realm expert?" Jin Sanyin nodded slowly. Indeed, at this stage, no matter how talented he is, he cannot leap over the immortal gate. Chen Fengyang is at most in the secret realm. Our Jin family has 3 experts in the secret realm. If we join forces, Chen Fengyang will definitely be beaten to the point of not knowing which way is north. Jin Xiaojian laughed, and then flattered Jin Sanyin, Grandfather Ju is only a hair's breadth away from the secret realm. As long as he steps in, with his martial arts talent, he alone will be enough to suppress Chen Fengyang. Jin Sanyin could not help but laugh. This flattery made him feel very comfortable. He waved his hand and said, "Remember the ancestral teachings. We were able to escape this disaster because we were low profile. Now is the time for our Jin clan to rise. We must seize this opportunity." "Yes," Jin Shaojian said respectfully. However, he did not understand why their Jin clan still had to keep a low profile when the great Tao of the world was recovering. Shouldn't they seize the opportunity to seize the world? He had already asked this question a few times, but he had never received a definite answer. After asking so many times, he was too lazy to waste any more time. His eyes flickered. What qualifications did a mere blood transformation realm have to receive such attention from Grandpa Ju? After Ling Han returned to the academy, he received news from the academy that his application had been approved. The academy had already prepared a bigger courtyard for him. He happily brought the child over. Sure enough, the courtyard was much bigger. It could even be said to be a small manor. He didn't know if it was because of his identity as a high-grade alchemist or an array master, or because he won first place in the big hunting competition, and the academy wanted to use this opportunity to reward him. "Forget it, I don't care anymore." Ling Han started to make the array foundation. He bought 2 kinds of materials. One was black jade iron, which was cut into 33 thin rods according to his requirements. These were to be used to make the Vajra array. The other was cloth woven from a mixture of black silk and golden scale silk. This was to be used to make the precipice array. The Vajra array was easy to make. He only needed to buy the corresponding ink. It was expensive, but it was not difficult if he could use money. The difficult part was the precipice array. He needed at least the blood of an inscription realm to make the ink. Where could he find an inscription realm expert to bleed? Forget it, he would make the Vajra array first. He made the array foundation quickly. If he could make 7 in a day, then it would be finished in 5 days at most. Apart from making the array foundation, Ling Han focused all his energy on breaking through to the 6 changes. He was not worried about the foundation. With the second baby's eye technique, he could point out the inadequacies in his cultivation. He had long reached perfection. The difficult part was how to break through to the 6 changes. This was a breakthrough of the limit. Back when he had returned from the Eternal Moon ancient site, Ling Han had been pondering this problem. But in the few days since he had returned, he still had no clue. This was normal. How could it be so easy to break through the limit? If Ling Han did not know that there was still the 6 changes, he would definitely try to break through to the ultimate bone realm in a daze. He thought to himself. Even if he had reached the 6 changes, he would need to spend a lot of time to stabilize it. He would only try to break through to the ultimate bone realm after confirming that there was no 7 changes. Because the lack of 7 changes was the conclusion of the ancients. It was not like the great Tao of heaven and earth said that the 6 changes was the true limit. There was no way to advance further. But it was not quiet outside. Chen Fengyang was still in seclusion. No one knew where Hong Tianbu had gone to explore. The few princes who were ranked highly seemed to have disappeared all at once. No one could restrain the demon clan's envoy this time. It was very lively. To the demon clan, this time they had come to get back at them. Of course, they had no qualms about doing things. Now, even the Emperor Capital Academy was not a paradise. That Mr. Cat would come to the academy every few days to challenge Ling Han. When he could not find the right opponent, he would randomly beat people up. The cultivation of the extreme bone realm was already at the top level in the academy. Moreover, this Mr. Cat was a super genius. His battle prowess could rival that of the engravement realm. Who in the academy could contend against him? In just a few days, many people in the academy had been injured by him. This caused the academy's disciples to complain about Mr. Cat. At the same time, they were also full of dissatisfaction with Ling Han. This disaster was caused by him. But now, he did not know where to hide, and they had to bear the consequences. In reality, Ling Han was also very innocent. Because he did not intend to hide his tracks, Mr. Cat refused to go to his place no matter what. What could he do? Until this time, when Ling Han changed his residence, the news of his return naturally spread. On the second day, Mr. Cat charged over. Since the identity of the demon clan had been exposed, the demon clan that came this time did not cover themselves with cloaks. Instead, they walked out openly. Mr. Cat lived up to his name. He was a cat demon. He had a furry cat face and his eyes were abnormally bright. There was a kind of frightening expression in them. His cultivation was as high as 4 bones, and his battle prowess had entered the engravement realm. He was a top genius among the demon clan. He came alone, and the people of the imperial capital did not dare to ambush him. Otherwise, whether it was the 4th prince or Yuan Yang, they would cause great suffering. Therefore, now that the demon clan was very restrained and did not start a massacre, the human race would definitely not dare to make an exception. He went straight to Ling Han's current residence. He had come to the academy many times and was familiar with it. Behind Mr. Cat, a large number of students followed. Some of them were purely here to watch the show, while others were hoping that Ling Han could show off his invincible might and give this demon beast a taste of suffering, teaching him a good lesson. Mr. Cat strode forward and soon arrived at the door of Ling Han's courtyard. He was very polite and walked over to knock on the door. However, no one answered. Mr. Cat revealed a displeased expression. "You still want to pretend that you are not here? Coward, how cowardly. How could such a person defeat the experts of the demon clan?" Mr. Cat knocked on the door again. Just as he was about to lose his patience and wanted to directly smash the door open, the door creaked open. Reading on the phone was more refreshing. Chapter 3374. A Good Romance. BQG 6. CC Mr. Cat was stunned. The door opened. Mobile phones were the most convenient site for data usage. But where was the person? Which bad guy is knocking on the door so loudly? "Are you trying to kill me?" A childish voice came from below. Mr. Cat looked down and saw that it was a little child who opened the door. She looked at most 2 or 3 years old. She was wearing colorful clothes and looked like a little princess. Even if he was a member of the demonic race, he did not feel any anger when faced with such a cute little girl. He said amiably, "Little girl, go and call Ling Han out. Dad is cultivating. He has no time for you." This was second baby, the most mischievous of the 6 babies. Well, his only weakness was that he could not count. He could be said to be an idiot. No time. Hehe, Mr. Cat sneered. Did she really think he was stupid? She did not dare to come out and fight him, but she pushed out a little girl. Did she think that she could send him away with a little cutie? Too naive. He did not waste his breath on a little girl. Instead, he forced his way through the door. Second baby sighed. What could she do if this kid wanted to be beaten up? She closed the door. "Why did you close the door? Let us in too. Little girl, open the door." The students outside shouted one after another. They all wanted to see the battle between Ling Han and Mr. Cat, but the academy had its rules. The demons could break them, but they did not dare to. They could only shout from outside the door. Inside the door, Mr. Cat was surprised to find that there was a little girl standing in front of him. Eldest baby crossed his arms in front of his chest and said, "Are you the fool who wants to fight with Dad?" The corners of Mr. Cat's mouth twitched. For a moment, he did not know whether to nod or shake his head. He had indeed come to fight Ling Han early, but he was definitely not a fool. "Ling Han, you're a man and you don't dare to come out. You let a few little girls deal with me. How shameless," he shouted in a low voice. "What? How dare you say that Dad is shameless?" Eldest baby was furious and instantly activated his violent mode. "Boss, beat him to death." "Yes, beat him to death." The 4th baby and the 5th baby appeared together. Ling Han was in seclusion, so they couldn't stick around and could only come out to join in the fun. "All right." Elder baby rubbed her palms together and suddenly exerted strength in her legs. Peng, her body moved violently, and she charged toward Mr. Cat. So fast. Mr. Cat only saw a blur in front of him, and eldest baby was already in front of him. He leaped up high and threw a punch at his face. He didn't have time to be shocked and quickly raised his hand to block. Peng, the punch arrived, and a huge force assaulted him, causing him to retreat several steps. Fortunately, even though he was in the extreme bone realm, his maximum combat power could reach the level of inscriptions. Naturally, he would not be injured by this punch. Mr. Cat lowered his arms and looked at the eldest child who had just landed. His fighting spirit soared. Previously, he had thought that elder baby was just a baby who was trying to act cute, so it was natural that he would not want to fight him. But after that blow, he realized that elder baby had the combat power of the ultimate bone realm and was completely capable of fighting him. When he got serious, he only had eyes for his opponent, even if it was just a cute baby. Mr. Cat took the initiative to attack. Hong, he rushed out at an astonishing speed. His original form was a cat demon, and his speed was his forte. In an instant, he reached 3 times the speed of sound. This was a domain that only those in the engravement realm could reach, but he reached it easily. Eldest baby was caught off guard. Peng, he was instantly hit by the punch, and his small body flew out, crashing heavily into the flowers behind him. But in the next instant, eldest baby had already rushed out, her small face full of anger. Hong, black energy rolled over and wrapped around her body. Oh no, boss has entered a berserk state. He's going to go berserk. 4th baby and 5th baby cried out in unison. Mr. Cat looked on and couldn't help but be shocked. Such a terrifying high-level energy. You're just a little baby, so how can you attract such a terrifying high-level energy? There's no justice in this. Mr. Cat cursed desperately in his heart, but he had no choice but to be prepared. The current eldest baby made him feel a chill in his heart. Peng, eldest baby rushed out. Her whole body was wrapped in black energy, causing her body to double in size. She punched out, and her fist was as big as a bowl. Mr. Cat naturally could not be afraid of a little baby, and hurriedly punched out as well. But as soon as the fists touched, his expression changed, and then he was sent flying. If Ling Han was present, he would definitely shake his head incessantly. Don't you know that eldest baby is known as a violent maniac, and his specialty is his great strength? Competing with a strong baby in terms of strength. How ridiculous are you? Peng, Mr. Cat fell heavily to the ground, and his entire person was stunned. What was going on? He was sent flying by a little baby with a single blow. He must be dreaming, right? You can't even withstand a single blow. Eldest baby clapped his hands. It was easy, and he really didn't run away from the battle. You want to challenge my father with your pathetic appearance? Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey? Mr. Cat's current outlook on life must have collapsed. He completely couldn't accept that a cute baby could be so strong. There must be a mistake somewhere. Maybe he was dreaming. He got up and shook his head vigorously. Silly cat, you're not dreaming. 2nd baby walked over, looking eager. It's my turn. Your turn. Xiao, 2nd baby immediately punched out. F***CK. Mr. Cat hurriedly dodged, but 2nd baby seemed to know that he would do this. His eyes shot out a beam of light towards Mr. Cat. This happened to be the weak point of Mr. Cat's defense. Mr. Cat couldn't help but turn pale with fright. Even he himself didn't realize this flaw. How did this little girl discover it? He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Peng, he was shot by the electric beam, and his entire body flew up again before landing heavily on the ground. His face was full of confusion. He had already been so shocked that he doubted Mr. Cat's life. He had, actually, lost to 2 milk babies consecutively. Ugly cat, it's my turn next. Another excited voice sounded. Mr. Cat was shocked. He hurriedly got up and looked around, but there was no one anywhere. Even when he released his divine sense, he also didn't find anyone. Was someone using divine sense to communicate with him? Peng. Before he finished thinking, he felt a sharp pain coming from the back of his head. He couldn't help but fall forward and fall to the ground. In just a short minute, he had suffered 3 defeats. This time, he finally fainted, and no longer doubted Mr. Cat's life. You really can't take a beating, sixth baby said. She couldn't be touched when she was invisible, and it could be said that almost no one could defend against her sneak attacks. Childish, third baby, who had been sitting on the roof, commented disdainfully. Eldest baby grabbed one of Mr. Cat's arms and directly dragged him away. She didn't care at all that she was wearing Mr. Cat's clothes. She walked to the side of the courtyard wall and swung hard. Pa, Mr. Cat was thrown out by her. The little girl clapped her hands and smiled, showing her teeth. Done. It was more refreshing to read on the phone. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.